Hey, welcome in. Treebone here with another episode of Pixel Autopsy, and guess what? I played Hades 2. Okay, so let's talk about it. It was so anticipated. I gotta start this off by saying I've done a personal top 10 games idea before. This is recent. I've been making it and writing it down. I have Hades 1 at number 3. So coming into this was big for me. Hades was massive for me. I think it's nearly flawless. Again, I have it as the third best video game of all time. And, you're going to have to DM me $500 to find out what my 1 and 2 are. I'll do it eventually. But that's what I'm going into it as, right? And 2, let me just start off by saying the positives, because I do have a lot of negative things to say, unfortunately, about it. But the positives is the gameplay. And that's been like the standard for Supergiant games since Bastion, which I always will remember them for as my intro to them because it was really good. The gameplay was awesome, and you can still sort of feel the Bastion influence when they get here. All the games that they're making are sort of just a different version of Bastion. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know. And if you don't, get your head fixed. And so the gameplay is incredible, right? So again, there's going to be tons of spoilers for story, for everything. Hades 1, Hades 2. So we're going to talk about it in depth. So if you have no experience with it, then get out of here because I'm going to ruin it for you. But coming into 2, they obviously add magic, and then with that they add the collectible magic item, like to upgrade your magic, right? Where the centaur hearts were for upgrading your health, and there's like a soul tonic that upgrades your magic in this. And they added omega moves. Those are like the 2 biggest things. I think it's super fun. It's very interesting. Oh, it's also they removed dash, or I'm sorry, they changed multiple dashes into only one dash ever, but you can hold dash to have a sprint, which has new things. I think sprint is cool for movement, but I think the biggest problem with it is they built a lot of the fights around it, and they built a bunch of the boons around it. They're like, do this when you sprint, and I was like, I don't want to be sprinting. I want to be swinging my sword, okay? And that's the biggest issue. But other than that, like, the gameplay was incredible. The gameplay carried me through the whole time, and I say this because I say carried because the story is so far below Hades 1 that I honestly don't think they should have made this game. I think this tarnishes the legacy of Hades. It's so sophomoric by definition that it feels like strange. It feels like a different team made this because everything is phoned in. It's filled with fan service and like hand wavy Deus Ex Machina bullshit that is like insane. I can't even fathom that they put this stuff in here. And again, I am a champion of gameplay trumps narrative, but and it carries this game, and I think it is worthwhile for plays for a full playthrough based on gameplay alone because it's a lot of fun. And I beat Hades 1 all achievements on Xbox in like 2017 or something like that. And then like full epilogue, all achievements, and I think like up to 16 or 18 or 20 heat. At least 16. I had 2 of the statues. And then Hades 2, the moment I got the epilogue, I uninstalled it. I was like ready to be done. I couldn't give less of a shit. And so, but I will say that the gameplay does carry you. But the cool thing about Hades 1 and like Hades 2 gets compared to it is it was the whole package. The narrative was incredible. The way that the gameplay was tied to the narrative, I tout Hades 1 as the premier example of when you play a roguelike, the biggest thing is narratively, it doesn't make sense because the guy dies and then you just go again, right? And they all have to have something like, you just teleport it out, or they just don't address it, or like in Dead Cells, you're just like an undead soul that's re-inhabiting a soldier's body over and over or something like that. And so it's like, sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't, but this was like Hades 1 was a really cool idea because you're immortal. So when you die, you just get sent down and you're trying to escape over and over again. Really cool idea. The way they tie it in to the story is like super interesting, and the way they tie it into the gameplay is super interesting. And then at the end of Hades 1, like when you finally get everything, if you want to keep going, they're like, oh yeah, you're the security expert, which is like the weakest point. It's like, oh, you're still testing our defenses, which is why you want to escape. But it still like makes sense. Like it's not that big of a stretch to get to, right? And that's at the very, very end. That's after everything you've already done. The reason you have to continue doing it, like after you save your mother and get her back is because you need to talk to the gods or whatever, and you're like keeping up a farce with them for a while that you're trying to reach them. And then like once you complete that, it's like a little bit like, oh, I guess if you want to keep doing runs, why would it make sense at this point? And it's like, oh, well, you're testing the defenses. I'm fine with that. Hades 2 has this problem right from the start where they sort of have to, they don't have that thing. Like, I guess for some reason, Malinoi, her name is, can't die the same as Zagreus. Like, I don't know what would happen if he died. Like, Zagreus just wakes up in the underworld. But I guess, wouldn't that be a benefit? Because Kronos is in the underworld. She's going to the underworld. Don't you just want to wake up in the underworld? But then they're like, oh, the shades are just not going anywhere. So then what happens if an immortal god dies? They don't talk about any of this stuff. It's like if she's, right? It doesn't make any sense. They never address it, which bothers me. Like in the first one, when Zagreus dies, he comes back out the pool of blood and walks up. He's in the chambers of Hades and he talks to him again. That's like where you start. So if she dies, wouldn't she go there? Which is where you're fighting to get the entire game. No, you have to fight your way down. Okay, so then where are the dead souls going? I guess they'd say like nothing's happening to the shades. So then like when she's about to die, she says like shadows take me or whatever. And she like does witch magic to teleport herself back. But why does it matter? What happens when you die? They don't really explain it. Who cares? If Kronos is not taking over the duties of Hades and like all these shades are not going there because they've been like talking about that, he's like not doing that. So then like what, there's no consequence for dying in the game. They never bring this up. I don't know why. I'm the first person to ever have thought of this. I don't get it. But so it starts off with that. She just teleports back, whatever. The first boss is Hecate, which is like your teacher. And she's like, yeah, I'm just making sure that you're strong enough to go through. Like really uninspired and stupid, right? The Megara thing in 1 is so much better. Because it's like it's her job to stop you, and there's like this interesting dynamic which is getting mad after a while because so then again the idea is the gamer is supposed to succeed. So when you start succeeding more, Zagreus, she's like getting mad. She's like, oh, I can't stop you. And there's like this interesting dynamic where they actually care for each other and you can pursue a relationship between them, but then they also have to fight each other to the death constantly, and Zagreus is winning a lot more because you have to. And then she's like upset because she can't stop you and it's her job. She's getting in trouble with Hades. All of these interesting dynamics right there, right? And the thing with Hecate is just like, she ends the fight by going, stop, you're pretty good. Continue. Okay, whatever. And then Scylla or whatever, like the second boss is like, she's like a singer and she's fighting you with song. Why is she the governor of Oceanus or whatever, which is supposed to be some shithole in the ocean? Why is she blocking the path? I don't really get that either. She's like, she doesn't care. She's just a singer and she wants to hurt you when you come through because she's a siren. Like she's just being that good of a siren that she's drawing you in. Again, like narratively uninspired. The fights are awesome. The fights are fun to play. Again, the gameplay is incredible. Narratively boring. This one's cool then. You go into some of it's cool. You go into the morning fields, which I find is a very interesting place because they do something really different where it's like you get lost in them and then you have to pick areas to do several encounters in one area, which I find really interesting. And then you get to Cerberus and he's like cursed by miasma, which I really like. You fight like a cursed miasma version of Cerberus and then he runs away, which is why he's not dying over and over again once you clear the miasma, which I really like. The thing about that is when you get to the end, it's like, why is the miasma still taking him? Why are they still allowing him? Like after you've like fixed everything, then it doesn't make sense. It's like, why is he's still just going back to the morning fields and having the miasma fuck him up and then you get rid of it and then he goes back to Hades? Like, I don't get it. Isn't he supposed to be protecting Hades? The only reason he was there is because Kronos had him doing it or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then it is really cool. Again, as much as it is fan service and a callback, it is interesting to have to battle. They don't explain it well why you have to do it, but having to battle back down into Tartarus is really cool. And then when you get there and you get like the express pathway and you only have to go through like 5 rooms and then you get to Kronos, that's really interesting. Going back through an area you've already been, but it's changed and Kronos has his influence over everything is really cool. And then you fight Kronos in Hades' throne room or whatever, which is cool again. Cool fight, cool boss. You get to the second phase, cool fight, cool boss, a lot of fun. I like it. And then you beat him. And the thing with him that they also don't really explain this is like you kill him and to explain the thing, she's like, they just sort of like go, oh, my time is running out, which I don't really get. Why can't she be down there? It's like where she belongs. And she has like witch magic that can overcome a ton of other stuff. And she's like, oh yeah, my time is running out. And then this part is also really cool. I don't like time travel. I don't think there's a single good time travel story, this included. It's bad, but it was cool the way they do it with like witch magic. You go into Zagreus' bed after you kill Kronos. You go to sleep. You rise yourself from sleep, and you go into the mirror, and you travel across it to Zagreus in the past, and you're explaining him the story, right? So then that's cool. And you just keep battling Kronos, and he's like, yeah, you'll kill me for like a day or whatever. Which, again, I don't understand how that's not enough time for people to usurp him. He's just gone for a day, and whatever. I let it go because, again, the gameplay is incredible. So, especially because, like, again, the stakes in the first one were just Zagreus trying to contact his mom. And the stakes in this one is Kronos he took over the underworld. He's had people imprisoned for Malinois's entire life, which, I don't know, it's like 15 years or 20 years or something. Has everyone from the first game imprisoned. Zagreus, his mom, Hades, he's having Cerberus do that. Hypnos got out, but like Thanatos, who you never talk to, Nyx, all those people. Hecate, who was never involved in the first game, suddenly was there and was friends with Hades, and she escaped with you or whatever. Okay, whatever. So then they also do an interesting thing. This is neat in another way, where they switch it up, and this is something brand new and neat narratively, where they go, oh, you also have to. Hermes is going, oh, there's problems up in the overworld. We need help up on Mount Olympus. Can you try? But when you go, you're obviously cursed the same way Zagreus is, and you can't leave the underworld, and so you die when you go up there. And then this is what I was talking about, why she can't stay in the underworld after she kills him and like take over. She kills Kronos. She does a spell to make it so that she can go. She undoes her fate from the three fates and is allowed to go into the Mount Olympus. So then you go up, and this is, again, I don't like this. I really like the idea of the first city you go to, Ephira or whatever. You could pick from like a big bunch of places to go, and there's like little encounters, and then you get all your boons and shit like that. And then you fight the Cyclops. I thought it was a really boring fight. I thought it was not well designed. It was super easy. It was dull. He's not an interesting character. And then again, he like, when you don't actually kill him, you knock him out and he goes to sleep. And then every time you come back, he's just like, I'm going to fight you again. He has no real motivation. Doesn't make sense. It's whatever. The fight's boring too. It's like the weakest fight in the game. Next area is, I can't remember the name, but you go on a bunch of ships. I thought this area sucked as well. I thought the Charybdis or whatever mini boss sucked. You don't actually get to fight him. You just beat up a bunch of tentacles. Boo, that's boring. The ships are like fine, and like nothing special was about it. I thought it was like they all kind of look the same. It's just like every room is identical, and sometimes you have to go through a room twice because you're turning the steering wheel or whatever. Like Icarus shows up, boring. I think the Ares fight kind of sucks too. This is like another part of fan service that I don't like. She just has the rail, the adamant rail or whatever from the first one that you used as Zagreus. I'm like, yeah, I guess that's kind of cool. I don't give a shit. She's annoying character. She sucked. There's no real anything fun going on there. And then you beat her and you go to Mount Olympus, right? You go to Mount Olympus. You fight Prometheus. He's cool. Prometheus is cool because like it shows you the first time he's like a Titan in this. The Titan Prometheus. I don't know like if they're taking liberties with that. I have no clue. But he gave fire to the mortals and there's like a whole thing there. And then you kill him, and then this is part snaps. You go to Mount Olympus, and you're like, oh shit, bad stuff is going here. And you find out it's Typhon, the king of all monsters or whatever, and he's cool. And this entire section is cool. Cool monsters, it's deadly, there's fucking sick-ass music. His like tail and parts of him are like attacking you as you go through the rooms in this area, which is really cool. And then you fight just his tail. It shows how massive it is. And then you fight him, and it's a really, really, really good boss fight. And he's really well designed. He's powerful. He's exactly what he should be. Badass, cool, amazing, awesome fight. Loved it. And then now there's a bunch of problems with this still narratively where you kill him. Well, you don't kill him. You knock him off the mountain, I guess. And they're like, that'll buy us time for when he comes back tomorrow. It's like, are you gods? This fucking sucks. And then you go to Mount Olympus and they just let you on. And you go to Mount Olympus and you see Zeus in person, you see Hera in person, and Hermes is there, I think. No, Apollo's there. And you see Hermes right before you fight Typhon. And then sometimes Demeter is there. And then they write themselves into a corner and then they don't write themselves out of it. It's like they understood that they had a problem and then they don't deal with it at all. Because she's like, oh, I have to go back to the underworld now. And Apollo is legit like, why don't you just stay and use a boon to talk to Hecate? And then you use a boon to talk to Hecate. And then she's like, no, you need to come back. We need to talk. And you're like, yeah, okay. And then you just leave and you talk to Hecate. And then you go back and you're like, oh, you need to kill Typhon 5 times or whatever. You kill him. You get ingredients. You get your dad's spear, Hades' spear from Zagreus through time. You use it to kill Typhon for good. He drops a special item when you do that. You use it to kill Kronos for good. The entire game, you're saying, let's kill Kronos. So the interesting part, too, is like the underworld is easier. So then you do the underworld a bunch of times until you reach a dead end. And then you have to do the overworld. You do Olympus or whatever a bunch of times. And then you finish that. And then you have to go back down and do the underworld again. And it's like painfully easy. And you still just fight the 2 phases of Kronos. I don't even think you fight like a special third phase or anything. You just kill him the regular way, which is, you've done it a million times, the easiest thing. He's such an easy boss at this point because you've done it a million times. And then you kill him the regular way, and then you're like, all right, now I'm going to use this special thing to erase you from time. And then you're like, all right, Zagreus, it's up to you. And he goes, no, I'm not going to do it. I can't. He's my grandfather. He like finds him back in the old time. He's like, why don't you just come and live with us and promise not to be bad? And he goes, okay. And there's a single cutscene where you play as Kronos and you walk around, you play hide and seek with Melanoi, and then it goes back and she's like, oh, I don't have any memories of this. I'm still just in my timeline. And Zagreus is like, oh yeah, well, the rest of us lived with him and you loved him. You guys were best friends and he loved you. And he changed his ways. He's a good guy now. I'm like, this was fucking horrible writing. Like, you gotta kill him. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. They just go, oh yeah, we made him live another life, and now in your timeline, it popped into his head that he had this other life with you, and he's conflicted. But actually, he's not conflicted at all. He's completely just a good guy, and everyone just accepts this with like legit a wave of your hand. You take him up to Olympus, and instead of being like, no, we're just going to kill him, like the ruthless gods who are pieces of shit forever, for eternity, before you knew them and while you know them and forever, right? They're like, oh yeah, I guess he can go rule over. Dude, it's like a part in Elysium, which is like paradise in the underworld or whatever. You're like, yeah, you get the fields of glory in Elysium. And now there's a billion problems with this right off the rip. But I'll start off just by saying that his plan was, apparently before the gods existed, when he was in charge, there was a golden age and mortals loved it. And he's like, we're going to go back to that golden age, right? Okay, well, now you're not doing that. Gods are just in control. And the thing that they do to make it narratively make sense is he goes, oh, well, now I realize that there can be multiple possibilities and we need to exterminate them from the timeline. So every time you go to the underworld, you kill a different version of him. And then when you kill Kronos, the now good Kronos shows up and actually kills him. And the other Kronos is like, wait, what's happening? And then you kill him. So it's like, okay, so you don't have a problem killing Kronos. Why is this one different? Why are you not converting all of them, right? So now it's like you're conflicted with yourself. Zagreus is like, okay, that you're killing all of these other ones. He wouldn't kill this one. What's special about this one? Literally nothing. This is why time travel sucks. There's nothing different between any of them. Why don't you convert all of them? Oh, because I can't send Zagreus back in time for every single thing. Okay, this fucking sucks. I can only go back in time so much. I can't go back in time again. Why not? It worked before. Oh, I can't make that magic because I can't fight Typhon again. Psych, you do the same thing when you go back up to Olympus. We need to kill more versions of Typhon. That one doesn't even fucking make sense. It's like you've already erased them from the timeline for good. Why do you have to erase them again and again? Right? It doesn't make any sense. Like narratively, just a huge drop off, right? It's just, it doesn't make, none of that, it makes any sense. And I hate it and it sucks. But I kept playing because the gameplay was really fun. I want to get the epilogue. And then you get the epilogue. And so they tease this from like the beginning. When you're like 10 runs in, Kronos is like, oh yeah, I stole the 3 fates and I hid them in the abyss. And then, I'm not even joking, like 5 runs into the game. I'm like a couple hours in and this happens. And then the entire rest of the game, like you still have never discovered them. Then you do a super late game fated prophecy. And you go, okay, I'm going to find the fates. You find them. First of all, they suck as characters. This is the first time you talk to them ever. It's like, this is going to be a big reveal. And one of them like doesn't talk. One of them's annoying. And one of them talks like a child. And like, they suck. They're supposed to be like so impactful and powerful. And they're like goofy. Please have some gravitas, okay? So, and then they go, yeah, we actually like it here and we're retiring. And get this, they go, we're going to usher in, since we're not here, anyone has controlled their own fate. And eventually, the gods are going to have to pass it over to the mortals, and we're going to have a golden age. So I'm like, okay, so you just undid everything. So that's what Kronos wanted in the first place. I can't believe this is the writing. They legit said, we're going to usher in a golden age. And like, eventually, mortals are going to get complete control and free will of themselves. No more fates. We're just going to hang out in the abyss forever. We like it here. We don't want to do our job anymore. There will be a golden age. So why do we not just team up with Kronos? First of all, why do we have to change his mind? Why do we have to kill these other versions? It makes even less sense at the end of it. And then, okay, so let's talk about some of the stuff that I don't like beyond all of the weird narrative choices. They added chaos trials, which are like just plain weird. You, a sphere of, or no, like a crystal of darkness, right? Shows up in the training grounds. And Chaos is like, oh, I'm testing a bunch of possibilities. They didn't know what they wanted to do with any of these fucking characters. They'll do the same thing. So you run through like one section of the game. It'll be like, oh, a trial using this weapon and these boons you already have unlocked, and you're only going through the Fields of Mourning, or you're only going through Erebus, or this or that, right? But like the gods acknowledge it. You get there and they're like, oh, it seems like something is weird tonight. You're like, oh, okay. But you can get like, you can't get the collectible items, boo, because they're the things that you need so much of. But you can get like fated prophecies. You can get bond progress. Like when you need to get like a boon, like one of them will be like, oh yeah, you have 1,000,000 Zeus boons. And it's like the first boon I open up there is a legendary Zeus boon because, or I don't know who it was, but it's like, because you already had so many, they didn't even have that many left to offer. So you just like get a free legendary and it counts for unlocking the legendary in your fated list. I'm like, this sucks. You're like giving it to me for free. You get keepsake advancement from going through battles. You could like legit farm all the stuff you need from these and you don't even have to succeed. It's like really boring. Why would they add this? It doesn't make any sense. You get like another unique item that you need for a bunch of incantations. So you like kind of have to do it, I think, a couple times. I'm not sure if they're needed at all, but I did them a bunch anyway. They're stupid. They add armor in, which feels completely pointless. Like, it's fine, I guess, mostly useless. Like, it doesn't really matter. It's like temporary health. I don't know, boring. Like, half of Hephaestus's entire, like, thing was, like, armor. Like, this, it sucked. I didn't care about it. I don't want armor. I never did. Like, this is another problem where, in general, like, all of the boons, like, so they added a bunch of new... They added a couple new gods, but like the existing gods, they changed their boons, which I hate. So Hades 1, if you love it, like I love Poseidon, he kind of sucks in Hades 2. And I don't like any of his stuff, and it's boring, and it's not as fun or as powerful feeling. So I already am upset because you change things that I like. And then like, again, you have a bunch of boons that are tied to sprinting, which I couldn't give less of a fuck about. And like some like Hephaestus has boons tied to armor. It's like these I will just never use these boons. I will never take a sprint boon unless I have to. It's pointless. I'm not like sprinting around the enemy doing fucking tick damage. I want to use my like do I want to run in circles around them like I'm the Flash? I'm creating tornadoes with my feet. I don't care. These suck. And they're like really bad. Like I want like and on top of that too, like the all of the Daedalus hammers in this suck. Like I remember specific ones from Hades 1 where it's like, I would take the spear because one of the Daedalus hammer things changed it from stabbing with the spear to you would throw it and it would explode. And it was my favorite thing ever. And I used it exclusively when I did that. Like it was my favorite thing ever. And none of the Daedalus hammer things in this one like match up. A lot of them are like do 35% more damage with your attacks. I'm like, this is bad. Like these blow. So like Daedalus hammers, not as inventive, not as interesting, but it's still the same thing from the first game. So it's like you don't even get that fun. This is the entire trend. I'll say right here. Pretty much everything is like everything you've done in the first game that they repeat, which is a lot. We're gonna go over it. It's not novel anymore. And all the stuff that they made new is like shitty except for the Omega abilities and like having mana or whatever, which also doesn't really matter that much, but the Omega abilities are cool and fun to use. They also had elements. Again, it's like, I guess an interesting idea. I stopped paying attention to them entirely. There's like infusions where like, oh, if you get a boon selection and you've gotten 2 other boons that have fire elements on them, it's like, oh, if you have +2 to fire, you do more damage. Like, yeah, who cares? Like, this doesn't really matter at all. You get 1 million boons in this game. I feel you get way more. Like, you get, like, everywhere you go, you could just, like, stockpile boons from one person. Like, so, like, builds didn't really matter. I didn't care about it at all. It fucking sucked. So now we're going to get through the big list of, like, everything that's the same. And I'll explain why this is all shitty. Hidden weapon aspects, especially ones with the awakening phrase. So like in Hades 1, this blew me away. It was a fucking revelation, right? So you get the weapons and then you unlock like the other aspects. It's like, oh yeah, you can unlock different aspects. It's the exact same thing with this one. Oh, you have the sword, you can unlock the aspect of this person, the aspect of this person. They have different abilities. But then you unlock a really cool one, the hidden one. Like at one point, you know, one of the guys will go, say this to your weapon, and there's a phrase you get. You get an awakening phrase, and it's like, oh my God, I got King Arthur's sword. Oh my God, I got Zhang Fei's spear or whatever it is, Guan Yu's spear. Like, that's dope as fuck, dude. And one, it's so cool. It's novel because it's interesting. It's inventive. They created it, and you're discovering it for the first time. In 2, it's like, well, I already did this. It's not new to me. When they tell me that there's an awakening phrase, I'm like, oh, so this is identical. And now I'm just farming. Oh, no, when am I going to get the awakening phrase for the rest of them? Oh, I didn't want it with this weapon. Which one am I getting? Oh, my God. It's like I don't care about it anymore. It was so inventive and novel and unique in the first, right? What do you mean is a phrase that gives me a special new version of this weapon that's like really unique and different and crafted in an interesting way? And then they just do the exact same thing. I'm like, okay, well, all of the novelty is gone. I didn't discover this. You like put it in as a hidden phrase, but who cares? Like, you do something different, do something interesting. You've already done that, right? So I don't love that. The exact same thing with like the nectar bond forming stuff, and then it upgrades to ambrosia. The weird thing is like you get a keepsake immediately from giving someone a nectar. Like, and there's so many more. There's like a dozen more nectars and bonds to form, but they removed chthonic companions. So like in the first one, you had like the Skelly thing, and you had the Sisyphus thing, and you had the death thing, and there's like a bunch of, and I think maybe even Cerberus, there was like chthonic companions that could come and help you out. You would press a button and they were like one-time use in the beginning, but then you can upgrade them and you can get multi-use chthonic companions that were on the same page as the keepsakes, but that's gone. And this isn't even to, okay, so then nectar bond forming, all that's the same, but you have to get way more, which ties into like, since there's so many more people and you have to get the bonds higher, you have to get way more nectar, which is boring and stupid. You have to get way more ambrosia, like so much more resource management. Fishing in this game exists, but they made it worse. You used to be able to get like rare fish if you got a perfect fish, and you would get better items from getting better fish. You could get gemstones, darkness in the first one, chthonic keys. I think you can get nectar and things like that from that. Now, in the second one, you just catch fish. I don't think there's a perfect catch in this second one. And you just catch fish. The rarity is who knows. And then they all equal bones. You can trade them into the broker for bones. So if they're all just bones, it's just a longer process to get more bones. So now instead of just like being awarded more bones, I have to do a fishing mini game and then go back and then go to a menu and turn them in for bones. Right? It's pointless. It's stupid. You used to get good stuff for these fish. And again, the minigame was a little bit more detailed because you could press the button perfectly, get a perfect catch, get a rarer fish. And so it was like harder to do, especially when like they were the ones after you killed Hades. If there was one in there, it's like, this is my only chance to do this. I have to kill Hades to get this chance to get a rare fish. It was like, this is tough. I have to nail it. I have to get good at this stupid minigame or whatever. So, and you could, and it was fun. So they just made that worse. Then they added more resource management and tedious collecting. Not only do you have to do that, you have to dig for seeds, you have to mine ore, you have to fish, you have to grab plants. It's boring as hell. It sucks. You have to like get mining equipment. You can't all do this from the start. So I'm like just playing resource collect all the time. Who gives a shit? I don't want to fucking do that. Arcana cards, which are just, it's just the Mirror of Night. It's a combination of the Mirror of Night and like keepsakes. Some old keepsakes from 1 just got turned into Arcana cards. I'm pretty sure like the keepsake from 1 that was like from Eurydice, that's like, the acorn or whatever. It's like you don't take damage the first time you're hit from the final boss of every stage or whatever. They just turned that into an Arcana card. Okay, so it's easier to get. It's whatever. I fucking hated it. They added hexes, but again, they removed calls, which I think function identically to hexes, but were more fun and cooler in the first one. So, like, you can get Hades call, the special one. You can get Poseidon, Zeus, whatever, like the fun calls. And they're all really interesting and powerful and diverse. And then there's like just 5 hexes instead of 1 for every god. But they work the same way. And then also you can upgrade a hex with a god's power. So it's essentially a weaker, shittier version of a call, but it's also a weird hex power at the same time. So I'm like, this kind of sucks. They have home-based decoration, but worse. They have the broker, which I was talking about, but worse. It's just, there's too many people. Like, the stories take forever to unfold. Again, I had all achievements in 1. I had near to it on my second playthrough of 1, in about 100 runs or something like that. I felt complete. I felt satisfied. I played the entire game twice. I loved it. It's just that damn good. I got the epilogue in about 80 runs in 2, and I was ready for it to be over 20 runs before that in the main ending. Like, I was just farming the fates at the ending, so I was like, oh, this might be cool. And then it wasn't. So it's like, the gameplay, I would say, is, I don't know, it's interesting. It's definitely faster. It feels really good. The gameplay is incredible. Compared to 1, I can't say if it's better or worse. It's because it's very good. I want to say I don't like sprinting. I don't like a lot of boons. And for that, I would give the edge to 1. There are a lot of really fun things in the second one, but I feel like 1's just more streamlined, more concise, better, more fun. So it has the edge on that. And then it has the edge on everything else. I just ranted for like 20 minutes about how everything else sucks. The narrative is boring. It doesn't make sense. It's like way more dissonant than the first one, where it all made sense, like in the realm of the game, but also to the player and for like the gameplay and why it makes sense. And then again, they just recycled so much stuff that it's like, none of this is novel. I've done it all before. So on this, it just feels like I'm checking a box. In Hades, I was discovering it, right? You don't know what's going on. When you first get a nectar, you're like, what do I do with this? And then the gift option pops up. I'm like, oh my God, I could give it to them. And then like, you don't get something right away. So like, you're like, is this doing anything? And then like, you give them like 3 or 4 gifts and they give you a keepsake and you're like, oh, this is doing something. And then you're like, oh fuck, I can unlock all these keepsakes. And then you do that, and then you can like level it up more and you build your bond with them more and be like, what's building your bond with them more do? And you're like, oh, well, you have to have everyone's bond up high enough in the first one to get the epilogue where you invite all the gods down to the underworld to explain what's going on with Hades and his mom and Zagreus and his mom. And that's really neat. So you need these bonds, but you don't really need bonds in the second one. There's like a dozen more characters, but I'm pretty sure to get the fated ending, like with the fates that I told you about, there's like the prophecy they give you is like, oh, form a relationship with this character. And it's like, they make it obtuse for some reason. It's like, form a relationship with our emissary, which I think is just Moros, the Doom guy. But you just have to like keep giving him ambrosia until your bond is high enough. But you also have to give them like fishing lures and go fishing with them along the way, and bath salts and take a bath with them in the sauna along the way. So you have to get those upgrades to build your relationship high enough. And then you give them ambrosia and you max out your bond. And it's honestly, it's only like 5 or 6 people out of like 24 that you have to have an actual bond with. And I don't know if there's any purpose to having a bond with the other people. I'm pretty sure like that there's no benefit. So you just are like, why would I be doing all this resource management and getting ambrosia, which is difficult to get and collect, and building it up and spending my time doing this when there's no benefit to it. There's, as far as I know, there's no. I mean, I've a ton of hours. I completed the epilogue, and I'm like, is there a benefit? I've beaten it so much, like I'm tired of beating it. I've done, it's probably 100 runs. I've done or 80 runs or so. I've done the chaos trials, like all of them. I've done so much. I'm like, what is the purpose? What is the purpose? I don't know. And then it makes me say, what's the purpose of the entire game? So I legit, like, the gameplay is incredible and it carries, but I don't think it needs to exist. And it's a harsh reality. I hate to say it, but like, they could have made a DLC for Hades 1, and they wouldn't have had to make anything new. Everything could have been the same, right? They could have added a couple more conversations. They could have done something. I don't know if they wanted to add Omega moves or whatever. They could have added a mode where you go into, where you have 5 more areas to go through and you have the Omega moves or something. It's not worth, I mean, it's worth it to play through because it's fun. But like, all the stuff that carried you along the way in Hades that made it that much better of an experience just doesn't exist. So it's still, unfortunately, a very good roguelike because the gameplay is just outstanding, but it's built on the shoulders of Hades 1, and I don't think that they do a single thing better in Hades 2. I mean, it's maybe more streamlined, but again, I don't think that anything exceeds the how incredible Hades 1 was. And it's just very unfortunate. You know, just a lot of repeated stuff, a lot of recycled stuff. And again, in one way or the other, it's like, you're not tricking me when you have all of the Mirror of Night selections just be Arcana cards. Like, who cares? I mean, I forgot they said they added companions, like you get a dog to follow you around. But one of the benefits of the dog is to pick up more, to make it more likely to get like the resources. So like, who gives a shit? You introduce a new problem, which is more resources, which is boring to collect and time consuming. And then you solved your own problem by adding a dog to follow you around that will pick up the resources. It's like you create a problem and then you solved it. Great. This just didn't exist in the first one. I didn't have to do all this dumb shit. So, I mean, again, I would say play Hades 2, like, if you like the gameplay and you want a tweaked version of Hades 1, but otherwise, don't play it. And just go play Hades 1 again. It's the 3rd best game of all time. All right, guys, that was Pixel Autopsy. Thanks for checking it out. I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.